friends. Welcome to our podcast. This is Dr. Flo Barbee Watkins, your host for today. And I want to talk to you about a subject that I don't even know how to say it. It's dealing with apathy. Some years ago, I was reading this book. It's called The Tripping Point in Leadership: Overcoming Organizational Apathy by David Bird. He was president of the Leadership Management Institute. And yes, he was a Christian man, but he was talking about apathy in a very different way. He was in a room full of business executives and he started asking them about the things that they go through, their problems and things of that nature. And they listed things like burnout or stagnation, indecision, a lack of creativity, lack of motivation, laziness. And so when we think about apathy, that's exactly what we are thinking about, that we just don't have the energy. Oh, we just can't get it done. Oh, we don't have enough people. Oh, we don't have enough volunteers. And that's not the case. Here's how he defines apathy. He says that apathy is a natural human instinct common to all of us that consistently encourages us to seek a comfort zone in which nothing ever changes. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So apathy is not laziness, it's not stagnation, it's not lack of creativity. No, it's a natural human thing. It's what we all have because we desire to be comfortable. So that makes me think about the church because the church is always trying to reinvent itself, to do more evangelism, to be more fiscally sound with stewardship, to get more people to give, to make more disciples. But is that the real problem? Abraham Maslow, in his book called A Theory of Human Motivation, he states that almost all of human motivation can be traced back to either self preservation or security. Okay, so if that's the case, if what motivates me and you is that we are trying to preserve the status quo, the way that we want it right now, and to feel safe and secure, and you take that and you mix it up with what apathy is, which is this human desire, this human instinct to remain comfortable, then how can change ever happen in the church? That means that we have to check out our motivation, right? Like, what is motivating us to want to bring more people to Christ, to build up discipleship so that people can learn more how to live authentic lives in this broken and fearful world, when what we really desire is our own personal safety and the preservation of that which we desire. That means that we're not outward focused. That means we are inward focused. That means that we're concerned about just saving ourselves. And that's counterintuitive to growth and evangelism and innovation and doing the things that will reach young people. So, admittedly, I will tell you that I am a baby boomer. But the church wants to reach millennials and Gen X's and Gen Z's. And quite frankly, I'm not sure if we can do that. Because here's something else that David Bird says to us. He says that people will always choose to change when they are aware that the change serves them and their best interest. So again, it's about us. It's about, if this change is gonna be good for me, then I'll change it. But we also know that that's that's not necessarily the case either. Because some things that benefit me, I still won't do them, because just because you know better doesn't mean you're gonna do better. But if we say we want to reach other generations, we want to reach the millennials. Those are our siblings who were born in the 80s and the 90s. They're probably between the ages of 27 and 42, around in there. If we say we want to reach them, then there are some things that the church needs to consider. As a result of the pandemic, congregations had to begin to use digital media. We had to use our YouTube channels and we had to use video. And that's why we're making this podcast now, because we want to make certain that people can hear what we have to say. It's no longer you come into the church, because we couldn't come into the church because we were staying in place at home. So if we want to engage, if the church wants to be innovative and engage millennials, then we have to meet them where they are in order to share the good news of Jesus Christ. So what does that look like? That means using technology and social media. If you are an elder, a teacher, an educator, and you're not on any form of social media, you are missing a grand opportunity to reach out to people that you will never, ever see. That sounds like another podcast for another time. But so technology is that big thing that millennials definitely must have, from TikTok to Instagram. That's how the message gets out. It's just amazing. But also, millennials are looking for relationships. They're looking to be in relationship with other folks. If we expect for people to just come to our churches, that's not going to happen. I know that there are some congregations in the Presbytery of the James that they go out to a restaurant and they have what's called theology on tap. That's a great way to bring the presence of Christ in with other believers and have a meal, have a margarita. People will see that you are real and human, because that's what is also missing: authenticity. People think that church folks are so, highfalutin, and that we don't make any mistakes or anything like that. And that is the farthest thing from the truth. There are no perfect people allowed in the church. And if they think they are sadly mistaken. But that's what millennials are looking for. They're like, you show up just as you are. When will you allow me to show up as I am? Yes, I might have tattoos and piercings, but can I show up just as I am? So yeah, that's that authenticity that I think that the church needs to emphasize. Definitely digital ministry through technology and social media. The second thing is building those relationships. But the other piece of it is we have to emphasize what it means to be in spiritual discipleship. People don't care if you can quote Bible verses. They want to see how you handle struggles. They want to see how you have resilience and the ability to bounce back, not to just throw the towel in and to give up, but to really go deeply and find and discover and share why your faith matters. It's in those authentic moments that people now, you can get their attention. You can really say the things that need to be said because you're coming from your heart. You're not coming from a place of piety or trying to impress them with what you know. You're sharing from the depths of your soul. And that makes a difference. So another question then becomes, then what are the real problems that the church really needs to address? Well, I will tell you now that the Presbyterian Church of the USA, PCUSA, we have what is called our Matthew 25 initiative, in which we are taking on the mantle of looking at poverty and racism so that we can create vital congregations. And that's a way to begin to look at some of the upsets and the problems, because I believe that if we are standing for justice, if we are standing with those who have been pushed to the margins and on the sidelines, then indeed what happens is that we are showing up as the hands and feet of Jesus Christ himself to make a difference in the world that is broken and heavy laden with racism and sexism and other isms that continue to erode our humanity. And so when we start thinking about those kinds of things, we get to share what the good news of the gospel says to folks. We get a chance to think outside the box, because the reality is that there is no box. And again, people will change when they have their self-interest satisfied, but recognizing that we're all apathetic. We want to remain in the comfort zone. But the church is not called to remain inside the comfort zone, in the comfort of the tradition, in the comfort of your four walls. So perhaps the question that we need to really ask is, who is the church now? Not who we were in the 50s and the 60s when our pews were packed and we had 600 and 700 people in Sunday school and vacation Bible school. Those times are no longer. What we now get to do is we get to engage our community in different ways. And we just don't need to talk about the problems. We need to talk about the difference that Christ makes in our lives in significant ways. Because if it is true that we want to grow our churches, we want to expand our territories, we want to do more with people, then what that means is we have to stop focusing on the symptoms of the problems and start looking at the problems themselves. The symptom is people not coming. That's not the problem. The symptoms are people aren't giving. That's not the problem. The church has all the money it needs. It's just in the pockets of other people. So when we start looking at what the real problems are and not treating the symptoms of the problems, that's when we'll begin to have this innovation and get out of our own ways. Because sometimes the church and our traditions and the way that we've always done things, it gets in the way. It gets in the way of what Jesus Christ is doing real time, right now, in this present moment. So the question is are we solving the right problems? I don't think we are. Because if we were addressing the real problems, if we were addressing the real things, I don't think we would have all of this chaos and confusion. I don't think we would have, diminishing numbers. I think our church numbers would be growing and our spirituality would be growing and the places that we would meet wouldn't just be in the church. Because that's what millennials look for. They look for things that they can relate to. My church back in Charlotte, we turned the whole worship space and it ended up looking like a coffee house rather than looking like a congregation with pews and seats and the big organ. No, it was a stage with lights and people sat around bistro tables and we praised God and we worshiped together. I'm not saying that you have to do that, but in order to attract the people who are not there, you have to do something different. Peter Drucker once said that there's nothing more dangerous than the right answer to the wrong question. That's golden right there, because are we really asking the right questions? There's some business books that talk about where we're going to be in the workforce by 2030. And it says that 85% of companies will be made up of millennials. Not baby boomers, not Gen Xers, millennials. So then the question is will those same dynamics be reflected in our churches? I think that the main thing is to keep the main thing, and to really look at what the problems are that we're trying to address instead of the symptoms. Because when we address symptoms, we'll just have a rolling Rolodex list of things you can do and things you can try, and have you tried this and have you tried that? No, I think we need to ask a different set of questions, recognizing that there are some things that the church tries to preserve. We want to preserve our traditions, and we think that those are unshakable, but the reality is they're not. Remember the words of Isaiah, who says, I'm here to do a new thing, to establish a new thing. So if we're going to look at doing a new thing in the Presbytery of the James, in the PCUSA, then I think we have to take an honest look at ourselves and recognize that we are motivated by our self-interest. We're not motivated by outward looking. We're motivated by our inward looking. And we like it. We like it like that. We love our comfort zone. We love coming in at 11 o'clock and getting out at 12 o'clock and going to have brunch with our friends. And nobody needs to mess with that. But the church, the world is hurting. And the church has powerful answers. And so let's get busy. Let's start thinking critically about how to be the church, even in our status, and recognize that the changes that need to be made, we're capable of doing them. We just need to get out of our own way. Apathy. It's a human dilemma. We all have it because we like what we like in that comfort zone. But I think it's time for us to break out of that comfort zone and look out at the world that we see and know that God has called us to do ministry for and with all of our siblings. So until our next episode, continue to live your life full. I am Dr. Flo Barbee Watkins, and have a great rest of your day and stay inspired.